Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this particular lecture, I'll be discussing about strategic management process. I have already covered some topic which you can find in my strategic management playlist. I will share that link in the description. So let's begin with the today's topic. So let's talk about what is a strategic management first. So strategic management is a set of management decisions and actions that determine the long-term performance of a corporation. So if any organization needs to perform in long run, if any organization wants to sustain itself in a long run, then they have to take some management decisions. They need to plan something, they need to take some actions so that they can sustain themselves in a competitive environment. And that is where strategy really helps. As per Fred David, strategic management is an art and science of formulating, implementing and evaluating cross-functional decisions that enables an organization to achieve its objective. We all know that when organization is incorporated, they definitely create their own vision, their mission and their objectives, and they want to achieve those objectives, and that can only be possible when you formulate certain strategy, you implement it on the right time, and you evaluate them time to time to understand whether your strategy has been created properly or not. And it can be treated as an art also, and it can be treated as science also, because it is backed by data these days. Let's talk about another definition that was given by Channon. The Channon gives the definition that says a strategic management can be defined as a set of decisions and action that result in formulating of strategy and its implementation to achieve objectives of the incorporation. Very much similar to the above definition. Most of the times we take some decisions, we take some action, we formulate some strategies, we try to implement them, we try to control them time to time in order to fulfill our objective. Let's talk about what are the various processes we have in strategic management. So it starts with defining strategic intent, then we formulate certain strategies, we implement those strategies, and in the fourth stage we try to evaluate those strategies and control them. Let's take up this process in detail now. Let's talk about the first step, and that's called defining strategic intent. I've already created a detailed video on strategic intent which you can find in the description link. But let me just give you a brief idea about strategic intent. So it includes vision, mission and objectives of an organization. So there are three things in strategic intent: vision, mission and objective. Let's differentiate between them. So vision is a statement that expresses where we want to reach, where we wish to reach in the long run. So any organization where they want to see themselves in the long run, where do you see after 10 years, 5 years, 20 years down the line, that is what is vision is all about. It is what the firm ultimately like to become. It is where you want to reach, what you want to become over a period of time. It once formulated is for forever and long lasting for years to come. Obviously, since it is creating for a longer period of time, we are creating it for 10 years, 20 years. So most probably for that period of time, it will be consistent. It will be long lasting. In a nutshell, we can say that vision is all about forward thinking process. That means that today you're thinking about tomorrow and day after tomorrow also, right? So let's take an example. You can see the Microsoft vision. It says that a computer software on every desk and every home in the next 10 years. So when Microsoft was incorporated, they made a vision that in the next 10 years, they will be on every desk and they will be at every home. We all know that this happened, right? So let's talk about the next, and that is called mission. Mission tells you who we are and what we want to do and why do we exist. In a very simple way, mission is all about why do we exist, who we are, what we are doing. It explains your business operations, right? So mission is a fundamental, unique purpose that sets it apart from other firms. It gives you a unique idea that what your firm is doing, which your competitors are not doing. It identifies the scope of its operation and its product and market terms. As I just explained you, that mission guide you in explaining that your company can design what kind of product, what kind of marketing strategies. That is what mission is all about. Let's take an example of Microsoft again. They said that empowering every person in every organization on the planet to achieve more. In a very simple way, we are developing some kind of softwares, or we will be developing some kind of hardware products also, but the main purpose will be that we want to empower people so that they can achieve more wherever they are, right? And that is what they have been doing over a period of time. Let's talk about the third thing, and that is called objectives. So what is objectives? Objective is the end result of the planned activity that state that what is to be accomplished, by when, and should be quantified. In a very nutshell, that your mission and vision are not quantified, and that is why objectives are always quantified. That we want to gain a market share of 20%. That means you are talking about something in numbers, something in quantity, right? And that pushes you to achieve that. And you try to measure your objectives whether it has been achieved or not. And every smaller objectives helps you in contributing towards your corporate mission and vision. So objectives state specifically how the goals shall be achieved, Following are the areas of setting objectives: profit objective, marketing objective, production objective, etc. So you can basically set up the objectives in different functional area. For marketing, we can have objective, we can have financial objectives, we can have people's objective, we can have production objective, we can have a profit objective. So you can design different objective for different functional areas. So let's talk about the second step, and that is called strategy formulation. So strategy formulation refers to the process of choosing the most appropriate course of action for the realization of organization goals and objectives, and thereby achieving the organization vision. Obviously, we know that we create vision, right? And then we create objectives, we create goals. And why we are creating it? Because we want to achieve it. And for achieving it, there could be a multiple options you can have multiple strategies, but out of those strategies you need to choose certain appropriate strategies for an organization, and that is what is called as strategy formulation. For choosing the most appropriate course of action, you need to do few things. For example, you can scan the environment, you can do the SWOT analysis, which is very, very important. We try to find out what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are our opportunities, what are our threats. We try to analyze all these things, and we also try to analyze the environment. So there are two things which we need to do. First is called environmental appraisal, other is called organizational appraisal. So what we'll be doing in environmental appraisal, the environment of the organization is the aggregate of all the condition events that influences that surround and affect it. So every organization is running into an environment, right? It is running into an industry, it is running into a particular country. So you need to analyze all the environmental conditions. It could be very dynamic also, and it consists both kind of analysis. One is called external analysis, other is called internal analysis. So external analysis contains the factors which are not in your control, and that is outside your organization. Like government policy is not in your control, customer behavior is not into your control, demand surge is not into your control. So there are certain things which are not in control. For example, currently we are going through a COVID situation that is not into your control, and that is affecting a lot of business right now, and which poses a lot of threat also. It provides you opportunities also. For example, COVID has provided a lot of opportunities for pharma companies who are making sanitizers. On the other side, it has been threat for certain companies like auto sector. For financial sector, it has been a threat for these sectors. The internal environment refers to all the factors which is within the control of the organization, which includes your strengths and which also includes your weaknesses. So we need to identify what are our weaknesses, what are our strengths, and we need to work on both internal and as well as external environment first. And then we need to work on organizational appraisal. So it is the process of observing an organizational internal environment to identify strengths and weaknesses that may influence the organization ability. Just like when I explained you the internal environment, I also like to explain here that organization appraisal is all about understanding your strengths and weaknesses. Because if you don't understand your strengths, you will not be able to explore the opportunities, and whereas if you don't understand your weaknesses, you will not be able to keep the threats away. So the analysis of corporate and the weaknesses The analysis of corporate and weakness becomes the prerequisite of successful capabilities formulation and reformulation of strategies. So in a nutshell, we can just say that if we want to make good strategies, we must understand the environment, we must understand our capabilities, which includes your strength as well as your weaknesses. Let's talk about the third stage, and that is called strategy implementation. So in the third stage, it is all about action stage, because here we take all the action, whatever you have planned, we try to implement that. So it refers to the decision that has made to install the new strategy or reinforce the existing strategy. There could be two possibilities. Either you are trying to install a new strategy or implement a new strategy, or you are trying to reinforce the existing strategy which was earlier created. So what we can do first is we can think about designing structure, process and system. Most of the strategy implementation is all about thinking about structure of the organization, developing different kind of budgets for programs. We try to develop different process, different procedures to accomplish certain activities. So that is your first way of implementing strategy implementation. That is your first way of implementing the strategy. On the other side, what else we can do? We can think about functional implementation. Now, functional implementation means every organization has different functions. It has marketing, finance, operation, personal, information management, and all these functional areas has different set of strategies. And that is why what we do, we try to create objectives and vision. We try to create objective and goals of each department, and then we ask them to execute those functional plan and policies so that we can achieve the broader plan, and that is called the vision of the organization, right? Then we are talking about the behavioral implementation. That is also very important, because when you are implementing any strategy, it is very, very important that you mobilize employees. The reason here is that when you implement any strategy, that means you are bringing a change in the organization. And change is something which is always very difficult. People resist change. So that is the reason why if you want to execute any strategy, you make sure that your employees are disciplined enough, they have the commitment level, they are ready to sacrifice certain things, and more importantly, they are very, very motivated to execute the strategy. They must understand why we are executing the strategy. They must understand the benefit of that executing of that strategy. Then only you can get their mobilization, right? The third thing we need to do is operationalization, strategization. In this stage, what happens, it includes the establishing the annual objectives, devising policies, and allocating resources. So in the third stage, what happens is we try to break down the strategy in a financial year, or we are trying to create an annual objective, devising policies accordingly, and also allocating resources. That is also very, very important. The reason here is, so if we want to achieve a long-term strategy, we need to create some short-term strategy so that we can achieve and we can tick those boxes, and we can say that, okay, these things are implemented and we are going on the right track. Let's talk about the next thing, and that is the fourth stage, and that is called strategic evaluation and control. So what happens in strategic evaluation? So it is the primary means to know when and why a particular strategy is not working well. What happens is some strategies work and some strategy don't work. And that is the reason why we need to understand that why certain strategies are not working. That needs to be evaluated as well. And even if certain strategies are successful, we need to understand that also, that what are the primary reasons for that successful drive. So it is the process in which the corporate activities and performance results are monitored to understand what is their actual performance, and they are compared with the desired outcomes. So what we do, whenever we devise a strategy, we think about what should be the possible outcome, and then we try to monitor those strategy time to time, and we try to measure the performance of those strategy against the outcome standards so that we can understand whether we met our objectives or not. Thus, strategic evaluation activities include reviewing external and internal factors that are basis of their current strategy. So we also review the external and internal factors at this stage, and at the same time we also monitor the strategy so that we can understand whether it has been executed properly or not. In the next stage, or with the part of the fourth stage, and that's called strategic control. And what we do in strategic control, it is very similar to any controlling process in management. What we do is we set up the objectives, we keep on setting up the control standards, we try to measure the performance in this stage, and after measuring the performance, we try to compare that performance with the standard performance or the standard value. We try to see the deviation into it, and finally we take the corrective action. It is very much similar to any control process which you have studied in management. So it is all about strategic management process. I hope you understood that what is strategic management and what are its process and how it works. If you really like my channel and my content, do subscribe to it, like and share with other students also, and you can join my Telegram channel for all my resources. Thank you for watching. We'll be meeting in the next lecture very soon.